All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. My name is Mireya de Lara Vargas.
And I'm Yesenia Lares Martinez, and we are both graduate assistants with the Counseling Center here at Texas State.
Yeah, and so today what we're going to be talking to y'all a little bit about is stress and kind of just learning how to, deal with the stress that we experience as college students. And then toward the end of the stress management portion of this webinar, we will also be kind of going over a brief overview of Counseling Center services that are available to y'all as currently enrolled Texas State students. And so also just wanted to say, if anyone has any questions, as you know, we kind of move along our webinar, please hold on to those. We will have some time toward the end of the presentation to go through whatever questions may come up. Also, please make sure if you do have a question, you can go ahead and pop that in at any time into the Q&A function, please. So instead of the chat, please make sure to use the Q&A function. That'll just help us out on our end. So yeah, if you could do that, we would really much appreciate it. And like I said, we will have reserved some time at the end to look over those questions for y'all. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so jumping into the overview of today's presentation. So what will I be covering? So pretty much just starting off with prevention tools. Stress isn't something that can be prevented necessarily, right? It's something that comes up in everyone's life, regardless of who you are and what identities you may hold. So this is kind of more like ways to ease the stress that we feel and to lighten the impact that stress may carry in our daily lives, especially as college students, right? Signs of stress. So stress, this is something that looks and feels very different depending on who you are. So it's important to be very aware of how stress may present itself for you personally, but also just being cognizant that other people may experience and deal with stress differently, right? And this is something that you'll kind of hear me repeat through the presentation, is that everyone experiences stress. It's just a matter of it manifesting itself differently depending on who you are. Assessing stress in our lives. So this is kind of when we take, a moment to kind of step back and investigate how stress comes up for us in the different areas of our lives, especially when we are, balancing different things. And so sabotaging yourself or self-sabotage. So for many college students, it's definitely not out of the norm to partake in self-sabotaging behaviors, such as procrastination. So it's definitely worth mentioning and talking about. Having practical approaches for letting go, and then finally planning for stress reduction for the future. And also just quickly to mention the topic of stress. I know this may seem kind of like oh, well, everyone kind of deals with it, right? Why is it important to even talk about it? Stress is regular. Like I even mentioned, regardless of your identity. And even outside of college, right? Once you do graduate, you will continue to experience stress. But it's really vital for us to talk about this now, especially to college students, because here at the Counseling Center, stress is actually the #1 thing that students come to see us for. So it's definitely worth talking about, as well as, kind of getting some tips out there in order to kind of get ahead of the stress, if that's something that can be particularly hard for some of us to deal with. So, yeah.
All right, so let's jump right into prevention tools. So as you can see, the first ones here really hit on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when someone is struggling to cover the basic needs such as shelter, food, clothing, etc., it can make everything else a lot harder and set up barriers when wanting to achieve goals. So with sleep, ideally, you should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night, but I know this is easier said than done. I do want to acknowledge that as college students, sleep is one of the first things that we sacrifice when it comes to cramming in late night study sessions for tests, finishing up papers or projects, or whatever the case is. Sleep is honestly the first thing to go. But what we really want to recommend here is setting up a schedule every night, kind of creating a set time that you will go to bed, right? And then finding like a consistent stopping point so that you know that, hey, this is the time that I should be getting some sleep every night, right? Next up is eating, right? So with eating, we really want to recommend that you feed your body the foods that you need to keep it going, right? So this might mean packing snacks, packing water so that you can stay nourished and hydrated during class. If you know that you're not going to have time to stop for breakfast or time to cook breakfast, we definitely recommend packing some snacks. That way you're not hangry during class, right? I know for myself, whenever I'm hungry, all I can focus on is when and where I'm going to eat next, right? So I know that I am not the most attentive student when that's what I'm focused on. We also recommend, staying active, and staying active can look like any number of things, right? So if you're the kind of person that has a set schedule and you prefer to use the gym, that's great. But staying active can look like any number of things. This might mean taking a walk around your dorm, around your apartment complex, getting some fresh air, maybe going for a bike ride or taking a dance class, whatever it is that you enjoy, just finding ways to stay active. We also recommend building connections, right? Because stress can be a heavy burden to carry by yourself, right? So there's a number of ways, and connections look differently for everybody, right? So it might be easy to look at a group of friends and think that everyone just clicked and made friends so easily, but that's not always the case for everyone. And just remember that building connections looks different for every person. Right. As Texas State students, we have a number of university resources to take advantage of. One of the first ones is the Student Learning and Assistance Center, or SLAC. They're there for academic support. If you know that you struggle a lot in math, they are a great resource to go to, and they can help you manage that and improve ways to study. You also have the Student Health Center for all of your physical health needs. And then student involvement is huge at Texas State. So we have over 400 student organizations. So there's a little bit of something for everyone, right? And then last but not least, we do have the Compassion Advocacy Resources and Education Care Center. They enhance student retention and promote student success. They provide advocacy, resources and education. The care center staff are able to assist students with absence notifications, academic consultation. They have care webinars, emergency funding, peer mentoring, student parent support, and foster care alumni support.
All right, so moving into signs of stress. So like I said earlier, stress can display itself in different forms. And being able to be at a point where you're able to distinguish them for yourself is very important. So in terms of physical stress that we may experience, we may all of a sudden be having really bad headaches that may turn into like migraines, right? We may notice all of a sudden we are losing hair at like bigger, more excessive rate every time we like step out of the shower or when we wake up in the mornings, right? We may be breaking out really bad. And sometimes it may not even be on our faces, but breaking out different parts and different areas of our bodies. We may also experience nausea or like a sudden loss of appetite, not even wanting to eat anything or snack on anything. We may also experience heartburn along with that, even if you haven't eaten anything, right? That's just kind of your body telling you, okay, something's up. Mentally, we can experience having a overall lack of creativity when we're trying to, be artistic with things. We can also be like in a constant state of like emotional worry. We can also have a hard time focusing on things, so poor concentration level, and also experience memory loss. So having like an inability to remember things, whether that's like what you ate for dinner last night, or something that happened that was a memorable event that you just completely went over your head, right? In terms of emotional stress, we may feel really scared for no particular reason. Maybe we're really easily irritated that day, or just feeling extremely frustrated for no particular reason, right? Again, feeling kind of in that constant state of worry, feeling really overwhelmed and anxious. Sometimes we may even just start to cry and may not even know why, right? Like that's kind of your emotions telling you, okay, something is up. It's also important to note that you may experience either physical, mental, or emotional level of stress a lot more on a deeper level than other ones, or you can also experience a combination of all three, right? Again, it's important to be aware of when you're going through these things and acknowledging it, and also giving yourself a break. Practice self-care within these moments that you feel stressed physically, mentally, emotionally, or a combination of these.
Okay, so let's talk about stress. First, I really want to emphasize here that feeling stressed out or overwhelmed is normal, and it's okay to ask for help. Stress is something that honestly we just can't avoid as college students. Obviously, not everyone feels stress the same ways, and it can manifest itself on different levels depending on the person. So that's also something to be conscious about. It's also important to be aware that just because we're experiencing stress in a situation does not automatically mean the situation is a negative one. New and exciting circumstances, such as the transition of moving away as a freshman to your college dorm for the first time, can be very thrilling, but it can also induce some stress and anxiety, as it may be the first time away from family, or for some, even just having to adjust to a new normal can be relatively stress inducing. The last thing that I really want to touch on here is that if you're at a point where your stress is too much, or even if it isn't, even if you feel like you have a handle on things, but you just feel like you need someone to talk to about it, don't be afraid to reach out for help, whether that's coming from friends, family, or the counseling center. Just please remember to reach out. It's important to take care of your mental health, because just like when we are sick and go to the doctor to treat a sore throat, an achy body, or a fever, when you feel stress, similarly, you would go to your friends, family, or the counseling center to help manage the stress or anxiety or any issues going on with your relationships.
All right, so assessing stress in your life. So responsibilities, expectations, and perfectionism. What we recommend here in this first part of responsibilities and obligations is to delegate, remove, and to revise. So what does this mean, right? Having those frequent check-ins with yourself and kind of asking yourself different questions of, what do I need to be doing right now? What are the most important tasks that need to be taken care of right now? What other things can wait? So delegating what's most important and then going from there is really important. So say you have to have plans to go out one weekend with your friends, and it's like a big thing, but you have a really big test the next Monday, that following Monday, right? And it's like really early. Just making sure that you're taking the time necessary to plan ahead and to be ready for that test, right? So prioritizing what needs to get done and getting ahead of the stress if there's a possibility it could become too much. And in some cases, you'll end up needing to remove your plans completely, right? In order to kind of be more productive and get your priorities straightened out. And that's okay, because there will be other opportunities to have fun with your friends. And really the focus should fall onto Monday's big test, right? And prepping for that. Then we have expectations. So the big questions here to kind of ask are, whose expectations are they? Are they expectations you've set for yourself? Are they expectations others have placed onto you? Who are these expectations coming from? Are these expectations even important to me, right? Sometimes as college students, we feel, that overwhelming sense of pressure of expectations that come from people in our lives, whether that's coming from, our family members or our friends or our professors. Maybe your parents are expecting you to get a 4.0 at the end of every semester, no questions asked, right? Or maybe your grandparents really want you to get involved with every student org possible because they want, a picture of you in every student org t-shirt, or I don't know, right? Those expectations can sometimes become too much too quickly, and ultimately are unrealistic, right, to achieve. So they not only lead you to stress and to be stressed out and overwhelmed, but they also lead to a quick burnout that occurs from spreading yourself too thin. This then leads us into perfectionism, which, feeds procrastination, damages our self-esteem and our self-worth, and ultimately is unrealistic because no one is perfect. So really remember to give yourself grace and be kind to yourself when things don't go as planned, or, if something unpredictable happens, because you can't control everything, and that's okay, right? Bottom line, no one is perfect.
Right. So self-sabotage refers to any of those behaviors, actions, or thought patterns that can hold you back from being your best self. And so these items listed here don't necessarily cause stress, but if you are feeling stressed out, they can worsen what you are already feeling in the first place. So coffee and caffeine products, they're super popular with college students, especially when midterms and finals roll around. As we mentioned before, we try to squeeze in that extra study time, maybe pulling an all-nighter, and coffee is what we use to keep us up. So I know that happens, but really be mindful in how caffeine affects you and your body, since it is still a drug and can leave you feeling jittery or anxious after consuming it. I know for me, I love coffee, and I will drink it, but if I have too much of it, I start feeling jittery and I can't really get much work done after that. If I have coffee after 3 p.m., it affects how I sleep that night, and then that turns around and affects me the next morning, which and personally leads me to self-sabotage. But then I've also met other people who can function perfectly and have a cup of coffee an hour or every hour daily. So it really just depends on the person. If you're using nicotine, sugary products, not eating or binge eating, or even consuming alcohol and other drugs because of stress, it's a good time to stop and acknowledge that it's not being used recreationally like it's intended. Bottom line is, you shouldn't lean on drugs or alcohol or any of these things to make you feel better when you're down. They shouldn't be used as an escape or a way to cope. If you do choose to drink, make sure that you're drinking responsibly, and always be cognizant of your emotional state prior to drinking or smoking, and even consuming sugary foods or drinks. So these activities don't directly cause one to be stressed, but using them while stressed can exacerbate the symptoms. So just keep that in mind.
All right, so practical approaches for letting go. Starting off with clarifying priorities. So priorities, are a really big and crucial part of, trying to balance different aspects of our lives. So whether that's, having school, being involved in organizations, and also that like personal part of our, maybe family life. Things can get lost in translation sometimes, especially when we have a lot going on. So it's very important to have a clear understanding of your priorities, of your responsibilities, of the things that you need to get done, right? Sometimes for students, having a planner, whether that's like a physical one that you can write in or a technological one on your phone or tablet, can be really beneficial of keeping track of your priorities and the things that you need to get done. I'm personally a big list person and a big planner person, so that helps me out a lot. Not only does it help me kind of stay on track and clarify my own priorities, but it also like makes me feel good and keeps me motivated about getting them done and like getting them crossed off my list, right? So that helps me personally. So identifying and using resources. Allowing others to help and be a part of your process and your journey, is part of being human. So definitely utilizing the resources that are around you is a part of that, whether it's coming to the counseling center and using our resources, or using Slack on campus, or the career center, the writing center, right, etc. They're all here to help. So definitely use them, take advantage of them. And so assertiveness and communication, these two kind of go hand in hand with one another. Making sure that you're being assertive within your communication says a lot, right? Being assertive within your limits and your boundaries, knowing what that is, right? If you have to say no to things, know that that's okay. Saying no to what is not reasonable for you in the moment is not being selfish. Saying no to something that you're not going to be able to get done is actually powerful, right? Because you have that confidence in knowing yourself, knowing what your limitations are, and then asserting them helps balance your levels of stress and ultimately helps you out. So don't be afraid to say no if that's what you need to do in the moment. And also being assertive within your communication. So having clear communication with those around you is part of maintaining, healthy relationships with people, with those your friends, family, your professors even, because it is really easy to miscommunicate or not communicate at all, especially when you're stressed out. So communication and really taking the time to invest in that can save you a lot of time and frustration. Because even effectively communicating and saying like, hey, I'm stressed out, today has not been a great day, is better received than not saying anything at all. Because again, people are not mind readers, right? And then responsibility and control. So pretty much just letting go of whatever is not yours, that frees up huge amounts of emotional and physical energy. So if it's not for you, let it go, right?
Okay, so in terms of planning for stress reduction, these points are a little bit more self-explanatory, but it's still important to keep these in mind. First thing is remembering to breathe. So this can help center ourselves, and even just using different breathing techniques such as square breathing or diaphragmatic breathing can be very helpful. Next is being realistic when wanting to eliminate sabotaging behaviors. Take it one step at a time. So maybe starting off by thinking, what is one small thing that I can change? For example, if you keep yourself up at night scrolling through social media for hours and losing track of time, that might be a good point for you to say, okay, maybe I should leave my phone alone once it's plugged into the charger. This way, you'll know that you're not going to be staying up all night and then it affecting you the next day. Another thing is you might use apps that help you from using your social media apps after a certain time. Could be another way to eliminate that self-sabotaging behavior. And so lastly, making sure that you're identifying healthy ways to relax and take breaks, because those are necessary to implement as college students. This is really a reminding point to practice and engage within self-care, and to make healthy choices that ultimately make you happy. So self-care is not a one size fits all. It is customizable to your likes and interests. So whether you choose to do yoga or take a hot bubble bath or cuddle up with your pet, whatever works for you as self-care, do it. Just try to incorporate at least some amount of time per day and per week to refocus and relax. Incorporate it into your schedule and create a routine from it.
All right, and so that kind of is closing off our stress management portion of the webinar. So now what we'll be going into is kind of the overview of our services that are available to currently enrolled Texas State students. And so starting off with kind of the things that we do offer and provide to y'all. So here at the Counseling Center, we do have a team of really great mental health professionals that are here to assist students to be successful by helping them address a variety of personal and psychological issues that may be, interfering with their ability to achieve their goals, whether those are personal goals or, educational goals. We work and see students who are experiencing different levels of distress, as well as different problems. And we do offer students time-limited individual counseling that occurs every 2 to 3 weeks after that initial consultation. And we also do offer highly popular group counseling that meets weekly. And right now we have groups that focus on mindfulness. We also have a moving through grief group, an LGBTQIA support and empowerment group, things like that. We also do provide education and awareness regarding mental health and wellness through, different presentations and activities throughout campus. We also do have urgent services and crisis response services that help offer consultation for family, friends, and staff of students to help them get connected with the appropriate level of care. Additionally, we do also help students with referrals for therapy off campus, as well as helping them access medications for their mental health concerns at the student health center on campus or off of campus. So those are kind of the things that we do provide, but of course there are also some things that we cannot provide. And so the counseling center services are designed to be more kind of like short-term goals. So some students will come in and they will benefit from longer term or more frequent care, or may require more specialized treatments than what we can offer here at the counseling center. So then if that is the case, we will then work closely with that student to provide resources for them to help them get connected with the appropriate care, whether that's in the community. Also, our office does not provide academic advising, so that's kind of more falls onto your academic advisor. So it's different from what you would experience in like high school with your guidance counselors. So our mental health professionals focus on providing mental health and psychological counseling to students to kind of address transitional issues that they may be going through, like stress, anxiety, anger management, depression, relationship issues, stuff like that. And so we also have been starting, ever since the pandemic started, we've been promoting and doing webinar series. So today is actually the first, we're kicking it off, our fall 2021 webinar series. And so we have a list of, I believe, 9 other webinars that will be happening throughout the semester. So definitely keep your eye out for those guys.
All right, so when it comes to accessing our services, the easiest way to get started is visiting our website and using our online scheduling option for non-urgent appointments. This launched this fall, which I think is perfect because I know calling can be kind of intimidating, but you can also call our office to schedule an initial consultation. Students will then complete paperwork and speak with a counselor for the initial consultation to determine the level of service that is needed for their unique situation and concerns. So depending on what services best meet the student's need, counseling appointments will be scheduled, or a student may be referred to a more appropriate campus or community resource. So the Counseling Center has been committed to providing quality counseling services while reducing the transmission risk of COVID-19 within the Bobcat community. So during this Delta surge that we're experiencing, telehealth will be the method used for counseling. So please keep in mind that as Texas State students, there are no additional charges for the Counseling Center appointment. So definitely take advantage of those. It's also important to note that the Counseling Center is confidential, right? So with the rare exception, information will not be released without your written permission. So any contact that you have with the Counseling Center is not a part of your academic record, and even your parents can't find out that you came in without your written permission to disclose that information. If you want more details on that, our website has more detailed information for you to check out.
All right, and so going into one of our resources that we have available to y'all, which is Therapy Assistance Online, or TAO as we call it. So this is pretty much just a very easy to access online program that pretty much just contains different activities, or kind of like module style setup or layout that includes different useful information, videos, and other activities to help you develop skills to help you navigate common mental health concerns, such as depression or anxiety. TAO can be easily accessed. Like I said, it is an online program. It can be accessed via our Counseling Center website under the Self-Help Resources tab. And this is free for y'all as Texas State students. So just make sure, if you are interested in using this, just make sure you are signing in that initial sign in with your net ID, and then it should be at no extra cost to you. Otherwise, if you do use like a personal email or like a different email, it will like ask you to pay $20. So we don't want that to happen. Definitely sign in with your net ID if this is of interest for you. TAO can be used individually, so completely on its own if you just feel like you need kind of a little extra support, or in conjunction with therapy if you're already seeing a therapist, or if you're also kind of looking into wanting to see a therapist. It can be used in conjunction with that. And it is also easily accessible, so you can use it at any time, 24/7, as long as you have a computer, tablet, or your smartphone to access this. TAO also contains a full library of free relaxation meditations. So I definitely recommend those, especially if you have difficulty falling asleep. Like, they're very, very helpful.
Okay, so this brings us to at-risk training. So this is another online self-paced training that can be accessed through our website. Do want to emphasize to use your net ID for this. So this is perfect if you've ever found yourself asking, how do you talk to a friend you're worried about? Or how do you know when a friend needs help? Or where can you and your friend go for help? At Risk offers self-guided practice scenarios. This program allows you to go back and make different choices in terms of how you would respond, and will help you recognize signs of distress and ways to approach other students, and ways to offer support and resources. So it's approximately 45 minutes to complete, but it's definitely worthwhile. Both me and Mireya have done it, and we have found it very helpful.
All right, and so going into how can y'all get in contact with the Counseling Center? So for those of you that may not know where our physical location is, we are located on the 5th floor in LBJ Student Center in room 5-4.1, right next to ODS. And then this is our phone number too. If you're interested in making that initial consultation with us, you can definitely give us a call using this phone number, or like Yesenia mentioned, if you prefer kind of just going online and putting your information through there, you can definitely do that. I completely agree with the whole like being a little hesitant to calling in. I've never liked to call in to make any type of appointment, so I get that. So yeah, definitely utilize our online scheduling tool. That's a new feature that we have. And then you can find that at our website, which is counseling.txstate.edu. And then you can also follow us on our social media. So our handle is at TXSTCC. Please give us a follow to kind of keep up with the different things that we'll have going on through the semester, especially the other different webinars that we'll be hosting and promoting. Those will definitely be on our socials. So yeah, give us a follow if you can.
All right. So before we finish up today's presentation, I do want to make you aware that whenever we wrap things up, you will be able to take a presentation feedback. So shortly after the webinar is over, it's gonna open up a new browser. Most of the information that you need to complete the survey is available and already pre-filled. However, it may ask you for which presentation you saw, and ours was on stress management. And we would appreciate any feedback that you all can provide to us.
Yes. And so right now we're going to go ahead and kind of give people a minute if anyone has any questions. I want to say there's none so far, but we'll just kind of wait a minute or two if anyone has any questions. If you could please go ahead and pop them into the Q&A function. And then, yeah, we'll just have some time to answer anything that anyone may have come up for them.
I do want to add that if you don't have any questions right now, but if something comes up later, you can always give the counseling center a call.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it looks like we have our first question and it says, is Tau free? Yes, so as long as you are using your Texas State Net ID to do that initial sign in, it'll be completely free. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like I said, if you use like a different email, then it'll like ask you for your credit card information. So yeah, just as long as you use your Texas State Net ID, it should be free.
Oh, this is another good question. So someone asked, or someone said that the online scheduling tool has said that there's no appointments available for the last few weeks. Should we still try calling, or does that mean that there aren't any appointments at all? So not necessarily. It may just mean that that it would be helpful to call just to get an idea, or it might just mean that they are working through the schedule. It is an online tool that just launched this fall, and just like with any other technology, sometimes it has the works that we have to kind of get through. So I definitely recommend calling and getting a hold of someone that can better direct you to help you get in and seen right away.
All right. So if anyone has any other questions, please type them in. Feel free to. But if not, I think we will go ahead and end with our next slide. So yeah, we just wanted to leave y'all here with this quote by Astrid Lauda. Thank y'all so much for being here with us today and being a great audience. We truly, truly appreciate it. And so please practice some self-care today. But yeah, we just wanted to leave you here with this one that says, don't let your mind bully your body into believing it must carry the burden of its worries. So with that, I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I just wanted to say thank you again. And we really hope that everyone has a really great day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.